It's an honor to be here with you today and to have the opportunity just to tell you about my experiences in life and with music. And I was just thinking to myself, it's interesting to tell your story while you feel like you're in the thick of in the thick of your story. It's like you feel like you're at, in movies when it's like really the action part of it. That's where I feel like I'm at in my life right now. And so it's like telling the story up until this point is going to be a lot of fun for me. And so whenever I tell my story, I actually go back to before I was born. It was 1989. My parents are from Zimbabwe, Africa. And so my dad came to the United States in 1989 in pursuit of educational advancement. And so he came to Dallas, Texas, went to Christ for the Nations, and he studied at Christ for the Nations for 1 year. And then after that year, he was supposed to go back to Zimbabwe, but an opportunity opened up for him to come to Oral Roberts University here in Tulsa. And so what he did was he called my mom in Zimbabwe, and I had two siblings at the time. My big brother, he was back there, Jasper. Everybody say hi, Jasper.
Hi, Jasper.
Yeah, Jasper, and my big sister, Prosper. So he sent for them, and they came to the United States. So my family's been here in the United States since 1989. I was born in 1992. Whenever I was 2 years old, my dad started traveling, who is a preacher. He started traveling in ministry. And so we were all traveling as a family, and what it would look like is we'd get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we would travel 2-3 hours to churches. Usually they were very small churches, and my dad would preach, and we'd go home. When I was 4, my parents were like, okay, y'all aren't going to sit on the pews anymore and do nothing. So all of us, they put us all on stage and told us to sing. And so I remember at a little church in Sand Springs, Oklahoma, called Victory Assembly of God, I got up there and I sang Jesus Loves Me for the very first time. And I love to tell people that from that point, I never looked back. Obviously, there's a lot more in there that I'll get to. But I was forced to do music at first, but then music became my passion. And so it's what I love to do. It really is. And obviously when you start growing, and when you start taking music more seriously, and when you start becoming a professional in music, there's a lot more that goes into music outside of just standing up here and singing. And so I've had the opportunity to learn a lot about that, especially in the last couple years of my life. But back to my childhood. So I traveled with my parents for 16 years of my life. And every Sunday I would get up and I would sing other people's songs. When I got into high school, I had 2 directors. Their names were Larry Downey and Julie Hester. And they were the best in the world. Does anybody have like a music teacher who they say is just like that person who you would not be alive or you would not be where you are today without them? They were that for me. And so I got into vocal music, and they just believed in me. I don't know why. I don't know why they believed in me. I don't know why they saw something in me, but they did see something in me. And so they started investing into me, and they started just giving me opportunities. I was a part of a show choir called the Trojaneers, and I think Zoe was a Trojaneer for a couple years. And I was a Trojaneer, and I didn't even know I liked dancing, but I did. I loved it. We would travel across the nation, and we'd be doing different show choir competitions, and it became a passion of mine. I thought at the end of my high school career, I had actually been given an opportunity to go to Oklahoma City University and study musical theater. So my dream was I'm going to study musical theater, and then I'm going to move to New York City, and I'm going to be Simba on Broadway. That was just what I thought. I was like, Simba or seaweed, one of the two. That's what I wanted. But that didn't happen. And I ended up going to Oral Roberts University. And I love to tell people that it was the best decision that God ever made me make. It was awesome being at ORU for the 4 years that I was at ORU. Immediately upon enrolling at ORU and being in school a couple weeks, I was asked to be one of the singers, what they call the ORU singers. Every Wednesday and Friday at Oral Roberts University, we have chapel. And so chapel at that time was live. It was live on TV, so it was a big, big, big deal. And it's still a big deal today. But as a freshman, I had the opportunity to be on this team called the ORU Singers. And so throughout my 4 years, I was at ORU, and I really just had the opportunity to hone my gift. And let me go back just a couple years. I was a freshman. It was after my freshman year, and summer had just started, and Larry Downey called me, and it was a number that I didn't know. He was like, "Is Brian home?" And my parents came and got me and said, "Mr. Downey wants to talk to you." And as soon as I get on the phone, he says, "Hey, what are you doing this summer?" I was like, not much. I'm just working. And he was like, "All right, good. You're going to come to my house every week, and I'm going to teach you how to sing." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I know how to sing. I know how to sing. I've been singing my whole life." But he was like, "No, I'm really going to teach you how to sing." And so it's during that period of 11 weeks of intensive vocal lessons and vocal training with Mr. Downey, I consider that the foundation of my singing. And so what you're doing here, it is so important. And I know a lot of you have taken voice lessons since you were probably like 12 years old. But don't ever forsake these moments of honing your gift. Don't ever forsake these moments of growing your gift. These moments where it's like, why am I singing this Italian aria? There's a reason. And you may not be able to figure it out right now, but I'm telling you, 5 years down the road, you'll be able to figure it out, right? All right, back to ORU. So I was at ORU for 4 years. And during that time, I don't know what happened. I just got really tired of singing other people's songs. And so I was writing a little bit, and one summer, I was working for the Tulsa Drillers. I was working as a promotional assistant, and I had gotten the contact information for a producer here in town named John Coggins. And so John, he had produced some of my friend's stuff in college. And so I was like, well, give me his number and let me give him a call. So I gave him a call, and I was like, hey, I have a song and I had no clue what I was doing. I'm telling you, I had no clue. But I was like, I have this song that I've written. I can't play one instrument. I can't play anything on it, but I need it to be produced. And so he was like, okay, it's going to cost this much. And so I was like, okay, I have some working to do. And so throughout that summer, I worked at the Tulsa Drillers, and all my paychecks would go towards recording. All my paychecks were going towards recording my very first song. And my very first song was a song called Dream On. It was about a friend who had a dream in her heart. Her family couldn't understand it. And I don't know, I was just touched by her story. And so that was my first experience with recording music. As it went on, John he had been my, up until the last couple of years, he moved to Los Angeles, I moved to Nashville, but he had been my producer for like 9 years. And we had made some really good music together. But I remember at 2012, I was just kind of figuring out. I was a sophomore and junior in college, just trying to figure things out. Like, what do I want to do? I've got this one song here that is really kind of just sitting here. There's not much happening with it. And I feel like I'm called to be an artist. And so what I did is, I remember, with that one song, it was called Dream On, I emailed all of the news channels in Tulsa. News Channel 6, News Channel 5, News Channel Channel 2 News, KTUL, and I can't remember all the others. I emailed all of them, and I was like, hey, I have this song called Dream On. I think that it will be perfect for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And 2 of them emailed me back, and we're like, all right, come sing it on our show. And so on Martin Luther King Jr. Day in 2012, I had the opportunity to sing this little song that I had called Dream On. And I tell you that story for this reason. There's something in your hand that you can use right now to get you to the place that you want to go. I think so often in our lives, and I think that social media has a lot to do with this, we're constantly looking at what other people have, and we're not giving enough credit and enough attention to what we have and to the gifts that we've been given and to what we possess within us, what God has given us. We don't give enough attention to that. So what I want to encourage you right now in this moment, at this intersection in my story, because it was such a powerful intersection in my story, I realized that I've got something to give. And the fact of the matter is, each and every single one of you have something to give right now. Outside of being a student, each and every single one of you have something that you can give to this community. And for me, that's how I started. I started serving the Tulsa community. I would sing the national anthem everywhere. Everybody, people would ask me, can you come sing the national anthem? I would. Working at the Tulsa Drillers, I was literally the resident singer there. Anytime somebody didn't show up to sing the national anthem, they would call me. I would get a call from my boss as I'm on my way to work. Brian, this person's not showing up. And I would just give my gift. I would give it, and I would sing the national anthem. I would sing the 7th inning stretch. I'd be up there singing Oklahoma and Take Me Out to the Ball Game with everything inside of me. And, but it was through those opportunities that other opportunities opened up within the community. And, I don't know specifically what all your concentrations are, whether it's voice, whether it's instrumental, or whether it is, or I don't even know what your specific aspirations are in life or through music. Obviously, you're spending money on getting a music degree, so you want to do something with music. And so what I want to tell you is use your gift. Use your gift. Don't let this be the only place that you use your gift. Don't let the 1 or 2 recitals that you have every single semester be the only time that you're singing in front of people. There are people in this community who need what you carry, who need the gifts that you carry on the inside of you, right? Awesome. Back to the story. So I graduated from Oral Roberts University in 2014, and through that time, I recorded a couple more songs. My senior year, I put out an EP. I did a funding campaign that almost killed me. It was very hard. We raised $20,000 to record an album, and I did it during my senior year. I do not advise that. And my car broke down during that time, and so I was borrowing my parents' car during classes, going and talking to people who would hopefully give me money to be able to record this album. But we did it. And so I graduated in 2014. And soon after graduation, I knew that music was I just said it in my heart, like, music is what I'm going to do. And so an opportunity opened up that I was very fortunate to have. Just right down the road, there was a church called The Assembly. And The Assembly asked me to come on as an artist in residence. And so 2 Sundays a month, I was there. The rest of the time, I had the opportunity to sing really wherever anybody would have me. I would just go where anybody would be, Jasper. We would just go anywhere. My brother, who's now my full-time manager, business director for the last 4 years, he wasn't working with me full-time back then. I was working by myself. And what you're going to realize if you want to do this as a career is that music is as much business as it is music. It is, and you just have to really come to grips with that. Because I think a lot of creatives and artists have trouble coming to grips with the fact that, yes, I have to pay taxes, and yes, I need an account, and yes, I need to formalize myself, and yes, I should probably send a contract to this person who wants me to come and do work for them. Why? So that they can't jit me, and I'm accountable to them as well, right? And so during about a six-month period, I was just traveling and doing a lot of events. Anywhere that someone would have me, I would go. And then I stopped in the fall of 2014, and I recorded my album. This album that I had spent $20,000, I raised $20,000, I recorded it. And so that's when my big brother came home one day, and he was giving me a lot of advice because he has a brilliant business mind. So he was giving me a lot of advice, and he was helping me with a lot of the things that I needed in order to succeed and thrive in this. One other thing I wanna point that I wanted to make that I thought about before this. What you have to realize, as soon as anybody pays you to sing, you are a part of the music industry. You are a part of the music. As much as Taylor Swift is a part of the music industry, you are too. As soon as somebody gives you a check and says, thank you for coming and using your gift, you are a part of this industry. You are a part of this space. And so one thing I want to demystify for you is that you have to reach a certain level before you can say that you're a part of the family. Okay? You are a part of this family as soon as you start, and even before then, as soon as you start putting videos up on the internet, as soon as you start doing whatever you do to use your gift, you're part of this industry. And you have to realize that. And you have to take ownership of that, right? And so we recorded this album, and it took about 3 months to record it. At this point, my producer had moved to Los Angeles already. So we went to Los Angeles, and we recorded the album. Is that right? I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. And so I remember we finished it. We had a release party. It was the first event that we had ever put on as Brian Nhira Music, and now we've put on a lot of events. I have my Christmas concert here. I've had it at the Ventries for the last 2 years. It's awesome. We love the Ventries. Janelle, Tabitha, Kelly, all of you all. They're amazing. And so I released this album. We had a release party. It was great. And then I get an email. And I thought it was spam. I really did. And it was from The Voice. And they asked me, they said, hey, we would love for you to come and audition in Oklahoma City. And so I was like, okay, this could be a cool opportunity. And so I remember I auditioned in June in Oklahoma City. In August, I went to Los Angeles. I had a callback and went to Los Angeles, where I auditioned for the executive producers of the show. And then in October, I auditioned in front of all the coaches. At that time, it was Adam, Blake, Pharrell, and Christina Aguilera. And I remember throughout the whole process, I was singing Happy. And so people always ask me, why did you choose Happy? And I was like, I was singing it from my very first audition, and then they ultimately assigned me Happy for my blind audition. And so thankfully, by the grace of God, to Adam, Blake, and Pharrell, they turned around. And I picked Pharrell, and it was an amazing experience. And I would say my biggest takeaway from the whole experience was the exposure that I had the opportunity to have to the process of The Voice, because they truly operate at an elite level within the industry. And so I always tell people, yes, it was great. It was great meeting Pharrell, but more than that, what marked me was the opportunity to be in that environment and to be a part of something that was so big. And, one thing that was really cool within the process of the audition was, as I was doing my audition, I was just telling them my story, a little bit of my story, like I was telling you my story. And I told them about Jesus Loves Me. And Pharrell asked me to sing Jesus Loves Me. And before I could even think, I was singing Jesus Loves Me on national television in front of millions and millions and millions of people. I tell you that to tell you this. I first sang Jesus Loves Me when I was 4 years old in front of probably 20 people. Probably, that's pushing it, right? That's pushing it. But in front of 20 people. But one thing my parents always taught me as I was growing up was that whether there's 10 people or whether there's 10 people, you give them the same passion every single time. And so it was so amazing to have the opportunity. For me, it was much bigger than just singing Jesus Loves Me in front of these famous people and in front of America. I was 4 years old again. I was taken back to that moment. And so what I want to tell you is don't take any of these moments for granted. Don't take any of the people who are around you for granted. Because these are the people, honestly, who you're going to see 20 years down the road. And I think so often we fight to get in touch with people who are sometimes untouchable when we have so many incredible people around us, right? And I heard a songwriter say, I was at a songwriting, it was something at Belmont University in Nashville. And this songwriter said, hey, look at all these people around you. These are the people who are going to be running the industry in a couple years. And so get familiar with them. And so that's what I want to tell you today. Get familiar with these people. Whether it's on a national scale or whether it's within this community, these are the people who are going to be the leaders, the people who are around you. And so it's so important not to get so wrapped up in things that don't matter. And when it comes to The Voice, coming back to that, what didn't matter was me getting overly infatuated with the fact that Pharrell turned for me. But it was the opportunity that I had to use my gift. And so The Voice was awesome. I absolutely loved it. Pharrell is as nice as he seems. He's amazing. Puff Daddy is cool too. Adam Levine and in the battle rounds, Adam Levine stole me. So I had the opportunity to be around Adam. And you want to know what we talked about? We literally talked about Africa because his wife's from Africa. And we talked about you could literally see the fear in his face because he was getting ready to be a dad. And in that moment, I was like, we really are just people. We're people. We're people. We're just every single Adam to Pharrell to the person on the side of the street. We're all just people trying to figure life out and trying to do it the best that we can, right? And so I took so much from The Voice. And ultimately, I made it to the top 20. And then after The Voice, the last 4 years of my life have probably been a mixture of the most challenging and the most fruitful years of my life. And you know what? To be very honest, I don't really think it's because of The Voice. I think it's because I've had good people around me, like my brother Jasper, who, when I was on The Voice, he was like, Brian, you got to realize that at some point, they're going to kick you off the show. And at some point, your career has to go further than just The Voice. And now, the last 4 years, we started releasing. One of the things we did in 2017 is, we came together strategically, and we were like, we need to start releasing music more often. We can't just focus on one project. And so what we started doing is we started with every song that I released, we put out a music video. And so we've seen it help us grow to the point where a lot of my fans and supporters don't even know I was on The Voice because The Voice took my videos off the internet. And it's that's amazing to have people in our lives who support us and who push us forward. And so the last 4 years of my life have kind of where I'm at now have been a journey, and it's been hard because being an artist is hard. It's very, very hard, but it's also so worth it. It is unbelievably, unequivocally worth it to fight for what's in your heart and to fight for the art that lies on the inside of you, the message that lies on the inside of you. And the last thing I want to say, and then I'll open it up to questions. I don't know what all of your concentrations are, what paths you want to take, what the dreams are in your heart, but what I want to say is ownership is very important. Ownership is very important. There will be a lot of opportunities to give away your ownership, and it's very sad but true. A lot of people have given up their ownership and are regretting it, whether it's in the form of bad record contracts or whatnot. There was actually a story recently of Taylor Swift where her whole catalog was sold to somebody who she considered an enemy. And that's so sad that, she didn't own her stuff. And so as you're growing up, if there's one thing, it's hard. It's hard not to give it up because people can really take you to places with their money and with their influence or whatnot. But it will cost. And so ownership is important. All right. Story done. Oh, and I got married in 2018, and I love my wife so very much. She's the best. If you want, we put out a music video. I wrote a song for her. Oh, yes, I proposed to her at my concert here. Yes, and then the song that I sang, we fully produced it, and then we shot the music video on our wedding day.